So if we look at that example and you want to coach that influencer to at least be able to contribute a little bit, obviously it takes more than just a crash course in sales to be able to do this consistently and at the high level that you were doing it for years. But if you wanted to just brief them before they go into the live shopping session, how do you convert viewers into customers?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing, and again, a lot of, when I teach and coach on my live shopping method, it's very much based on what I did. So, I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel here. And even when I talk about certain sales terminology, it's not like I invented sales. Sales has been around since the beginning of time. But we're really fine tuning it into a technology and a way of communicating, frankly, through a screen that is not completely unlike selling in person. But as we start to see more D2C, more direct to consumer, obviously less brick and mortar, it's important to understand how can we connect to people through the screen in a way that feels like they're going to be there in person. So when I would coach, and when I do coach influencers and brand ambassadors and creators and anybody that's going to be on the camera, I always say, first of all, you want to talk to the people like it's your best friend, like it's someone you really care about, because you should care about putting the right product in the right hands. And the sales mindset. So if you're in a co-host situation, it's a lot easier because you can be the expert and you don't have to know as much about sales, but you certainly have to be very well versed on product knowledge. And in particular, what might motivate someone to buy that product. Typically, when we look at sales, is it a need or a want? And let's be honest, as much as I'd like to say, you really need this mug, odds are you probably have 500 mugs. I don't know what it is about 500 for you, Moritz. It's 500 brands of skincare or 500 mugs, but you're the 500 guy. The reality is you probably don't need this mug and you probably don't need this skincare because you probably have what you need. And if you had no money, you wouldn't need anything but food and clothing and probably minimal clothing and shelter. And that's really all our major needs are. So I would say that, for an influencer that I would be training is to help people understand how do we change or at least put an idea out there that this want is kind of a need. And often we need to sort of think of more of the emotional sides of things, right? So that red lipstick, does anybody need red lipstick? Absolutely not, right? Absolutely not. But what do we need? Well, as humans, we need to feel good about ourselves, right? That's how we perform better. We are more likable. All of that when we feel good about ourselves. So if I were teaching an influencer to sell, lipstick, yes, of course, the color, the packaging, all that's very important. But what are we selling? Okay, remember, we're not just selling the features, we're selling the benefits. We're selling the outcome. So a lot of this cannot be found on a product page. If I go to Amazon.com and I look up a red lipstick, it's going to tell me the gram weight. It's going to tell me the color. It's going to tell me maybe some of the ingredients. But we can't just do that when we're doing live selling. We have to sell an outcome. So what are we selling? We're selling confidence. We're selling, you know, a very affordable way, frankly, to change up a look, far less expensive than an entire wardrobe, and something that's a luxury that most people can afford. Maybe not every brand, right? But most of us can afford that. And so when I work with influencers and ambassadors, I always try to get them into the mindset of going beyond what they see on a product page, and to put themselves in the position of the person that they are presenting to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally, totally. I get that. I just observing you and how you can pull real life examples like that out of thin air. Do you go through life and you just see products and you're like, that would be my hook probably with it, and that's how I would reframe it to be a need rather than a want? Is that a blessing and a curse in your profession, or can you turn it off when the camera is turned off?
And I mean, it's all a blessing. There's no curse in this. I mean, I am very fortunate that and I was not born with like this really outward confident personality. I mean, in high school, I was not unpopular, but I wasn't popular. I sort of just blended. And I know that, for me now, I think like, oh my gosh, like I can't imagine. To me, I would never want to blend, but I blended, which was fine because again, everybody liked me, but I wasn't really noticed. And so, yeah, I would say that everything that I have and the way I've developed both personally and professionally is all a blessing. I don't feel like every time I see a product, I'm constantly finding the hook for it. I'm pretty intentional. If I were selling something, that's when I sort of turn on that part of it. Or if I'm coaching somebody, even though I know what that hook might be, I do try to get people to think through the process themselves. And that's what I do with my course that I offer and with my one-on-one sessions is I help. I try to help people develop that skill set and that muscle memory. And then of course I'm always able to offer, great suggestions